The X Zone Radio Show is heard on radio broadcast affiliates worldwide, including AM 580 CFRA in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. WPUL AM 1590 in Daytona Beach, Florida. KOHI AM 1610 in St. Helens, Oregon. KHRO AM 1150 in El Paso, Texas. And for more information on becoming a professional broadcast affiliate of the X Zone Radio Show, visit www.xzbn.net or call toll-free worldwide 1-800-610-7035.
The X Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
You doing that thing you do, breaking my heart into a million pieces, like you always do. And you don't mean to be cruel, you never even knew about the heartache I've been going through. Well, I try to forget you, girl, but it's just so hard to do. Every time you do that thing you do.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. For the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, and on Star Cable, and our growing family of worldwide affiliates right across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Australia, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. Toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My first guest tonight is E. Lee Gregory. His website is www.eleegregory.s5.com. And let me see, he attended Norton City School System until 1975. Shortly thereafter, he attained an associate degree in electronics, then began work at Barberton Electronics, where he worked on some of the most sophisticated electronics known to man. And we're going to be talking tonight with our first guest about, you know, those strange lights in the sky, those visitors from other planets, dimensions, or universes. Joining me now is Ed E.L. Gregory. Nice having you with us. How are things going?
Things going great. Good to be here.
Super.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Hey, it's my great pleasure. Tell me, what got you interested in looking up in the sky? You're an author of a couple of books. Where did the interest in UFOs and extraterrestrials come from?
I'd have to say that comes from my dad when I was young, around 14 years old or so. He got a copy of Fate magazine.
Oh, good magazine.
I think that was the end of a lot of us, you know, that brought us all down that road, I think. I think
it was the beginning for all of us.
Yeah.
Because
that's what started the whole ball rolling.
Yeah, you know what? I can still remember the front cover wherein it had Kenneth Arnold. And that's going back a number of years, but I do remember that, and since then it's been out there and it's been at the forefront of breaking stories pertaining to the paranormal and parapsychology. And we've had Phyllis Galdi on the show a number of times, and many of the great writers who've written articles over the years in Fate. So you know what? I can fully understand and appreciate where you're coming from and where your dad's coming from when it comes to the doors that were opened and the eyes that were opened by that magazine. Ed, you and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. Can you stand by with us?
Sure.
All right. Exonation, our guest this hour is Ed Lee Gregory. His website is www.eleegregory.s5.com. And you know what? We'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as the X-Zone continues. We're right here, live and around the world from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, smack dab in the middle of the Great Lakes Triangle. My name's Rob McConnell. I'm with you Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. until 2 a.m., and then again from 2 a.m. until 6 a.m., and then again from 6 p.m. until 10 again. And then you know what? The whole system starts over again. Don't go away, Exonation. We'll be back in 2.
KHJ Los Angeles.
Portions of the day's programming are reproduced by means of electrical transcriptions or tape recordings.
That crap back in 1970. We didn't know about a World Wide Web. Was a whole different game being played. That's when I was a kid. Wanna get down in a cool way? Picture yourself on a beautiful day. Big bell bottoms and groovy long hair. Just a walking in style with a portable CD player. No, you would listen to the music on the AM radio.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. Yeah, we're on AM radio, FM radio, satellite, and worldwide on the internet, as well as our satellite providers. And, of course, our number one satellite uplink is with our good friends at the Talkstar Radio Network. And our satellite uplink facilities in Stony Creek, Ontario. To find out more about our satellite facilities and where you can listen to the X-Zone, visit www.xzbn.net. Ed Lee Gregory is our special guest, www.eleegregory.s5.com. And tell me, Ed, do you have any proof or know anyone who has any proof that we have actually been visited by people from another planet, another universe, or even another dimension?
Okay, the only thing I can say for certain is the research that I've done. And I've come up with several pictures, and I've posted them on the internet, on my Facebook pages and stuff. Sent some to a bunch of my friends, but there is pictures of, say, Apollo 17. That's the first ever nighttime launch of an American spacecraft to go into orbit. And there's a picture there that I found that when I picked out this particular spot that I found interesting and blew it up and enhanced contrast brightness a little, shows a very peculiar objects. Like one turns out to be a large triangular-shaped object.
Right.
But when you look at it just in a picture, it looks like just a star. And the same with this other object. It looks like just a star. But when you blow them up so you can really get a look at them, this other object is, I don't know if you've ever seen the Star Trek shows, but it's got the big round dish sticking out on the front of the ship, and it's got a body, and it's got the port and the hyperdrive nacelles on the side of the ship and all this, and this object looks like that. And it's on my webpage here. If you guys would look at it there, it's right on the webpage.
And, of course, that's at www.eleegregory.s5.com. Do you really think that the governments of the world are actually suppressing the truth about extraterrestrials and UFOs?
Oh, yeah. Well, I know the United States government has to. I think the rest of the world knows and that they are for some reason, but the United States government has to, because as a result of our capturing this downcraft from, say, Roswell. That's what I'm going to use as my point. And back engineering the technology from this craft, we're able to put ourselves literally on top of the world, and not just struggling on top. We were literally on top for, the last 200 years, and maybe for the last 50 or 75 years, we've been way on top of the world, the most powerful nation to ever sit on the earth,
Right.
for the longest period of time. And all as a result of back engineering alien spacecraft and then keeping it to ourselves, not sharing it with the rest of the world equally. Now, you got to just imagine how the rest of the world's going to feel if they actually learn this is true, and they actually believe it's true. They're going to want revenge and restitution, just to put it lightly. It wouldn't be a good day to be an American when the rest of the world realizes that we did that. So our government has to keep it a secret, no matter what evidence you show them. They're never going to admit that, yeah, we actually did that, Now, as for the rest of the world, I don't know why they're doing it. Maybe they're feeling pressure from our government, but I can't really say that for certain.
Yeah, Ed, I've spoken to so many people over the last 20 years doing this show, and they tell me how benevolent the extraterrestrials are, that they're here watching us, that they're here to make sure that that we actually don't come to nuclear odds with each other. And yet, when I see what's going on in the Gulf of Mexico and the catastrophe and the effects that this oil spill is going to be having on the entire world, I ask myself, and I've asked other people, why don't the aliens, if they have the technology to traverse time and space, why don't they do something and help clear up this blooming mess? And why don't they intervene when it comes to the problems that are now arising in Korea, between North Korea, South Korea? Why didn't they stop 9/11? If they're so benevolent, if they're here, if they have the technology, and I'm so tired of hearing about the non-interference clause, because it seems like that's an escape for them.
That is.
So why don't they do something, Ed?
That's an escape. That non-interference thing is an escape for those who don't want to believe the truth. And the truth is that this being that we call God, the one that supposedly created us here on this world. Well, I've uncovered evidence that points to the fact that he's not a, quote, magical, mystical being of light who never started and is never going to end. More rather, he is a very highly advanced, scientifically, race of beings. He's a member of a race of beings who is very highly scientifically advanced over us. And that if you consider this to be true, the fact that God would let little babies suffer and be sick and die,
makes no
little
sense.
Innocent things, and they'd let the Gulf oil ruin the whole world. He could do something about it if he was here.
Right.
If he was here right now with us, he could do something about it. I'm sure his technology would allow him to do that. But if it's like the ancient writings on the stone tablets say, that they come from this planet called Nibiru that has a 3,600-year orbit, they could be just now on maybe heading to the peak of the outer edge of their orbit, and they may have another 1,000 years before they can get back close enough to us to come here and start intervening in things.
But Ed,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
not really. There isn't really. I can't find evidence of a whole bunch of aliens. Like they say, there's 57 different kinds.
Yeah,
we can find evidence of 2 here on our planet.
I was just going to ask you that how come people keep seeing all these UFOs that over Mexico, over Brazil, over some spots of the United States, especially around Mount Shasta and Sedona? And yet, when it comes to actual physical evidence, there is none.
No, there's very little actual physical evidence, but it is out there, and those ancient writings are one. And I say that they're evidence that you can't argue with, because in these ancient writings they have things like the existence of the asteroid belt.
Right.
And we didn't know that, until maybe 75 years ago, and they have tales about moon of that planet striking a moon that was in that orbital plane is the asteroid belt. It struck this object and created the asteroid belt. And the main mass of this collision moved down into the orbital plane that is now the Earth. And the two masses, one became the Earth, one became the Earth's moon. And I find this to be true, all these writings to be true, because when we got the moon rocks back to Earth and studied the gases that were trapped within the rocks, they were exactly like gases we found in rocks on Earth that we know to be 3-4 billion years old at the time it was supposedly created. And the gases are the same, which means at one time these two bodies were intermingled and shared atmospheres and other properties.
You
the
see,
moon rocks tell that tale.
You see, I agree with you that the story of the Bible and of creation leaves a lot to be desired. It really does. And then we have to look back in time and try to understand how the people of, let's say, 2,000 years ago, 3,000, 4,000 years ago, would have interpreted an extraterrestrial visitor.
Exactly.
You know, yes, they would have thought they were gods, and yes, we hear about how they descend from the heavens,
right?
And you've got mimicking in Greek mythology, because you've got the gods that live atop Mount Olympus and they come down, and then you've got the similarities between Greek mythology and Christianity. For example, both gods had a son with a mortal. You've got Jesus Christ in Christianity, and then you've got Hercules in Greek mythology.
Right.
The theory that God was an extraterrestrial and that the angels of yesteryear are extraterrestrials of today, to me, makes the most sense out of anything.
That's exactly what they are. And the devils and the demons are the same thing. You know, they're the story goes that there was a battle in heaven, and God wins and casts out the devil and his host.
Right.
Cast them down to earth. Well, I stated in my book like God/extraterrestrial mission commander, defeats Satan / the perpetrators of this overthrow. You know, that's what it actually. It's a ship that's in the heavens,
right?
That where this battle took place at, and he cast these losers down to earth.
So it's basically Captain Jean-Luc Picard aboard the Enterprise. Will Riker wants to take over command, and Picard wins and beams Riker down to the Earth.
Basically,
and
that's where the Nephilim came in. That's where the giants,
right?
The giants came down to Earth from the heavens to mate with women.
Yep.
Well, they come down to heaven. They were forced down here, and they're going to stay here the rest of their lives. So we may as well have a woman, But anyways, that's how the story goes in the Bible.
Tell me, now we've got about a minute before I have to take my news break, Ed.
Okay.
What do you think would happen to established religions, and I'm talking about Catholicism and Christianity and other religions that believe in God, and I should say when, extraterrestrials make their presence known, and they go through their history and say, we were the gods of yesteryear? What do you think is going to happen to the established religions?
Yeah, I'm kind of like on the edge of a knife blade there, like an Occam's razor kind of thing. Where if there are people on our planet like I'm not going to brag, but like me said, because I know me, I understand what's going on, and I know that these people are alien beings from another planet, just highly advanced.
Right.
And they kind of caved in and said, look what I can do, basically,
Yeah.
And now I'm your God. And they may well have made us and put us here because the genetic evidence.
Listen, you and I have to take a commercial break. Please stand by. Ed Lee Gregory is my special guest. ELeeGregory.s5.com. We'll be back after the news. The X-Zone Radio Show is heard on radio broadcast affiliates worldwide, including AM 580 CFRA in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, WPUL AM 1590 in Daytona Beach, Florida, KOHI AM 1610 in St. Helens, Oregon. KHRO AM 1150 in El Paso, Texas. And for more information on becoming a professional broadcast affiliate of the X Zone Radio Show, visit www.xzbn.net or call toll-free worldwide 1-800-610-7035.
The X Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
Every day is so wonderful, and suddenly it's hard to breathe. Now and then I get insecure from all the pain. I'm so ashamed. I am beautiful, no matter what they say. Words can't bring me down. I am beautiful in every single way. Yes, words can't bring me down.
Exo Nation, Ed Lee Gregory is our special guest this hour. His website is www.eleegregory.s5.com. And I have to ask you at this point, you know, when we look at the Bible and we look at the angelic intervention, the intervention from on high, for example, the destruction of the world in the Great Flood, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the destruction, the killing of all the Egyptians in the Red Sea. What do you think this tells us about the entity that we call God?
Well, that maybe he ain't what everybody thinks he is. And then there would be a reason for that, for people thinking that, you know. That, you know, he says he loves us all, you know, even more than his own angels, but when the time comes, if we're not with him, he's going to smite us aside like we're so much trash. You know, like just like take it out the trash.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I really don't really know how to answer that question the way you asked me. But I think when God comes back, he's not going to be looking for faithfuls, you know, and he's going to be looking for servants, first of all, plain and simple. And the ones that are on his side, he's going to know in some way, which I haven't figured out yet, but I think it has to do with genetics, but he's going to know that you're on his side. He's going to let you live. The rest of them is going to have to go.
Do you think that there was actually a UFO crash in Roswell, New Mexico?
Yeah, I do. First of all, I think that you got to put yourself in a military state of mind. My son-in-law, Jim Floss, he's in the Army right now, and he's in Iraq. And he's a no-nonsense kind of person, you know, and he's just a sergeant. And I was in the Army, and I know what military people are like who want to be in the military. And if you attain a rank of any kind of officer, you want to be there, you know. So first of all, you got higher-ranking people like captains, majors, and colonels who reported this incident to the newspapers. You know what I mean? Yeah. It went worldwide overnight to the newspapers. This is right after a war. Things are still kind of hairy. And believe me, if you were in the military in that kind of rank, and you wouldn't be playing any practical jokes, and you wouldn't be doing anything iffy, you know, should I put this in there and let the world know, or shouldn't I? First of all, they put it in there, and it did happen. First of all, they wouldn't goof around, or they wouldn't lie. They wouldn't put any phony stories in there. If they had it and didn't want anybody to know about it, why would they put it in the paper? First of all, So that tells me that the fact that it was in the papers, that it really did happen.
All right, but here's a question for you. You and I were discussing before the news that there is no proof of these extraterrestrials, the 57 different
Right.
Types that people claim. And you brought up the possibility or the hypothesis that these aliens that you have found ancient writings about could be from Nibiru. Now, if that's the case, where do you believe that the UFO that crashed in Roswell, New Mexico came from?
Do you recall Betty and Barney Hill?
Yes,
Betty
I do.
And Barney Hill story?
Yeah, I sure do. Going back to 1967.
Right. Well, they were abducted by aliens, and she drew their pictures. What she drew was a classic gray alien being.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, later on in her life, she underwent hypnotic therapy, and she drew a star map that at that current time, the current astronomers couldn't identify this map and said it was a bunch of hooey.
Right.
Except for one, Marjorie Fish. She kept looking and looking, and finally, after the invention of a new telescope, I'm not really sure which one. I want to say the Spitzer telescope, but I'm not. I think that's a little bit new. But the telescope of that day, the newest one that was put up,
mm-hmm.
they found this star system with it. It was finally big enough to see it.
Yes.
And it was an exact match to this Betty Hill star map. Well, the star map is of the Zeta Reticuli system. And she asked the leader where they're from, and that's how she got this map. He pointed to a chart and said, "This is where we're from." He indicated that that's where they were from. And they were gray, big-eyed gray alien beings, like the ones that they say were on the Roswell craft. So I'd have to say, if you ask me where the Roswell craft might come from, judging by the beings that they clamor on it, and
right.
the Betty Hill story, I'd say they were from Zeta Reticuli system.
But yet there's no evidence that the world has seen to confirm the Roswell crash. And would it be possible, after all these years since 1947, that physical evidence, I'm not talking about the alleged witnesses, but I mean
right.
hardcore physical evidence has not been able to surface yet? Right,
and they're going to keep that a secret. And when you're dealing with an organization that will shoot you rather than show you, you're not going to get to, you're not going to get to see that information. So what my book does is it presents this information
mm-hmm.
in a way that you don't need them. You don't need the government. You don't need the military to step forward and show you something. The fact is that they put it in the papers, tell you that it happened, because they just wouldn't have done that. Period. And it tells you that it wasn't made top secret yet, because if it was top secret, they would have never put it in the papers,
Sure.
Never in a million years. So that there's two things that you learn from the Roswell crash, that it did happen because it was in the papers, and it wasn't top secret yet. Now, it's really not too much you can get out of the Roswell thing.
All right. Okay, so
other than that,
what about...
But, you can't let them tell you that because we don't have any, it didn't happen. The evidence is there. You just have to see it in the proper light.
All right. Now, when it comes to some of the beliefs that there's an alien base on the far side of the moon, what is your opinion of this?
It's possible. I mean, we don't get around there often. We don't really know what's around there, and the people that go, they're not going to tell you. They have pictures of the backside of the moon, infrared and radar images, and but I've never seen any of them. And they might try to tell you that they don't have them, but the fact is that stuff is infrared and radar type things are commonplace on the simplest forms of travel here. So I know they had it up there, and I know that they got images of the backside of the moon.
What about the hypothesis that there are alien bases in the bottom of the ocean and that the fabled city of Atlantis itself was an alien base on this planet?
I haven't seen anything of that nature in the research that I've been doing.
No way.
What I've been doing is I've been finding the scientifically verifiable stuff that was verified through either use of a telescope or logic, like a star wobbles. That way you know that there's a planet orbiting it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so let me ask you this then. What has been the most compelling evidence that you have found that this planet is being visited by extraterrestrials and that we are not alone?
I would have to say that I don't know what year. I think 1967. Harvard University psychologist named R.J. McNally put together a team that studied alien abduction victims, and what he did basically was a lie detector kind of a test before the lie detector was invented, and or was in wide use. But what he did was he made a small recording of everybody's traumatic event. Like these people that on one side he had people that were victims of child molestation and terrorist activity, or a soldier that was suffering from battle fatigue, and he would make a recording of their event and play it back to them and cause them to go into their traumatic state, you know. And then he'd measure things, their psychophysiological reactions to this event. And what he found was that the people that claimed they were abducted by aliens showed these responses as strong or stronger than those people that he knows for a fact went through earthly traumatic experiences. So it shows you that they're not lying about what they're telling you.
Well, I can understand that they went through something traumatic, but how do we know for a fact? I mean, we know today, and this is one of the reasons lie detectors are not used in court cases, that people can deceive lie detectors. We also know that past life regression and hypnotherapy regression cannot be used in a courtroom because it's not dependable. So how do we know that these people actually had an alien abduction experience and not something that was traumatic in their life, period?
You can't really say that they were actually on board this ship unless they bring some strange pop top with them, or they got Betty Hill. Betty Hill is the one pinnacle case that tells you that she really was there, because we didn't have that map anywhere in any of our astronomical maps. Nobody knew anything about it, but she did, and it took 11 years for us to become technologically advanced enough to see this star system.
Why do you think the extraterrestrials in the Betty Hill case picked her and Barney?
From their point of view, looking down on everybody, I wouldn't really think there would be a reason for picking them. You know what I mean? Unless they went in and studied and found out that they were an interracial couple and thought, hey, we're going to get two with one stone on this one. Let's go ahead and pick them up. We'll get a black guy and we'll get a white girl, and we'll see what the difference is between these two at the same time that we're seeing what the difference is between us and them.
What do you think what do you think the aliens look like? I mean, do you think they look like us? Could they be walking amongst us and we really don't actually know that?
Sure.
That they're aliens?
The God that made us in His image. So we may very well look like Him, look like them. They may look just like us for all we know. This God, when I say God, I'm talking about an extraterrestrial being that did genetic manipulation on the already existing ape line that lived on our planet. You study the fossil record and the genetics, and you see that the ape line goes back millions of years beyond the Neanderthal man's line, and even the Neanderthal line goes back 8 million years. So that was the ape line is the base line used for the genetic manipulations to produce both Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon, man, and that's our line, the Cro-Magnon line.
So tell me, do you believe that whoever these extraterrestrials are, these visitors that seem to be in the skies, actually pose a threat to us?
No. I mean, if they were here to take over, say, they would have took over from the first day. I mean, it would have been easier for them to take over us before we invented, say, the atom bomb.
Right.
Look what difficulty that's going to present to them if we launch a few nuclear missiles at them. How are they going to handle that, you know?
Here's a question for you.
We've
got to get ready to go to our commercial break in a couple of seconds here. But I have to ask you this. Do you think that if the United States and another country were to hit that button, and the launching of these nuclear weapons would mean total global annihilation, do you think that the extraterrestrials, if they're up there, would intervene?
Not really.
No way.
They got a way around all that, and I can explain that to you, but it'd take a little more than a couple minutes.
All right, stand by, Ed. You and I have to take our final break. X-Zone Nation, Ed Lee Gregory is our special guest this hour. You can find out more about Ed as well as buy his books online at www.elegregory.s5.com. That's www.elegregory.s5.com. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break. Don't go away.
Bring the wind to carry me over, lead me home to my town. Tell me when that breeze is blowing, taking me home to my town. When I think of you, Scotia, there's a love that just bleeds in my heart. In my childhood days, we went our different ways, but you knew that we'd never part. Now I'm all alone, and you're calling me home. You knew our love could never die, and though my rolling eyes are
Ed Lee Gregory is our special guest. www.elegregory.s5.com. First of all, thanks very much for joining us, Ed. It's been a great pleasure having you with us here this first hour of tonight's show. But before you just wanted to start a little bit of a cliffhanger here with us, so this segment.
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, you was asking about, well, I'm just going to start it off this way. We're talking about God and, how God might treat us. And,
yeah.
And when he comes back, he says, if you're not on my side, he's going to destroy you with fire, utterly destroy, catch you in the lake of fire, you're going to burn forever.
Right.
Well, fact is, that in my studies, I've had to learn a little bit about DNA, and I've learned that they can bring viable DNA back from a 2-million-year-old Neanderthal fossil. It appeared to be a stone fossil bone, but it was enough marrow inside that bone to get viable DNA, and they've used this DNA to study and find out that none of us are related to Neanderthal man. No man on Earth is related to Neanderthal man. Well, this process of getting DNA from these ancient things and viable DNA tells you that if we had the technology, and we're working on it right now, we could bring these men back, these cavemen back, by cloning their DNA and regrowing it, and it could grow that exact same caveman. Well, I got to thinking that why would God want to destroy us with fire? And then my mom always told me, it's a horrible way to die, Put the fear of God in you. Well, here you got a 4-million-year-old DNA sample from a Neanderthal fossil.
Yes.
They brought back a solid frozen mammoth got DNA from that, perfectly viable DNA. And I began to wonder, you know, say they shot you, they could still get your DNA, you know, crushed you, froze you, imploded you out in space, blew you up with a bomb, any way you can imagine to die. They could take fragments of you and get DNA back and clone you and bring you back, you know. Of course, when they do that, you'll be starting out again as an infant, and you'll grow up again and be taught whatever you're taught. Because all the stuff that you learn as you grow up makes you what you are today. And if you started over as a blank slate and grew up again, you'd be whatever you became from your life's experiences, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the Bible it says that when God brings you back and you pass resurrection and you're one of the ones that are going to live, you're going to receive, and this is all symbolic, you receive a white stone. And on this clean white stone is a name that nobody knows but you. And that's telling you that your slate's clean now. Here's your name. Nobody knows you.
Hey, Ed, I hate to do this, but you and I have to say so long for now. We'll have you back on because this is a story we want to continue. Thanks very much for joining us. Exonation, Ed Lee Gregory has been my guest this hour. His website, eleegregory.s5.com. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past as the X Zone continues live and around the world from our Hamilton studio audience here in the X Zone. Don't go away.